Hello there, this is Mrs. J in the library, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use a digital activity, whether it's a digital read aloud or perhaps a digital library center or any other digital activity you may have purchased in a Google Classroom. Stay tuned in the next couple videos for how to use a digital activity or center or digital read aloud in Seesaw, ClassDojo, or other learning platforms. So first, I do recommend Google Classroom as my first choice for managing a library class or using digital activities. It's just so much easier to use. However, I do understand not everybody has access to it. If you are using Google Classroom, though, and you have your classroom set up, you're going to go to the Create button, and you have two choices. First is Assignment, and the second is Material. And I really do suggest using one of those two options. An assignment is for something students are going to turn into you. So they're going to complete something or change something. They're going to have their own copy of something, whether it's a Google Doc or a Google Slides presentation, that they're going to manipulate or change in some way and then turn into you for credit, or it doesn't have to be for points. It can just be ungraded. But students have to take action to turn that into you. A material, on the other hand, is something that students just have to view or access in order to complete the activity. So I'll show an example of both of these. I have two draft assignments here, or posts for Google Classroom. The first is the State Award Book Voting Center. This is a digital library center, or the digital form of a library center that I use in my library. So this is a great example of a material where students don't need to change anything in the digital files. They just need to access them. So for instance, I have put the short description there. This link right here just takes students to a copy of the center sign that I would normally have out on the table in the library. It just has directions and also standards in case an administrator wants to check it out. The second link is just a link to the Google form where students will actually do the voting. And that's all that's really needed. You could add links to your Destiny list or collection. You could add another link to your ebook platform or your online catalog for students to search for these books. But really, you can also keep it pretty simple. And so there aren't even many options here. So you can post in multiple Google Classrooms if you like. You can post to all of your students or just some if I had any students in this test classroom. And you can add a topic. So I could add reading and language and keep all of my reading and language centers together. And that's it. I would just click post and then students are ready to go. However, if you would like students to manipulate or change anything or complete something, then you might want to use an assignment. And I'll use the Library Centers menu as an example. So I haven't posted this yet, and here's what the assignment might look like. I use assignments for research library centers and also for a lot of my digital read alouds because I want students to interact with the content. And then they don't have to turn it into me, but I want them to have their own copy of the activities. So when I go to add my document from Google Drive or a link, when I'm using Google Drive, I get a couple choices here. The first is that students can view the file, and that's just like a material. Students can only see what's there. They can click on a link, but they can't move or change anything. The second option is students can edit a file. Use this very sparingly. In fact, I've used it only once in the past year. Students editing the file means that every student in the Google Classroom can edit the exact same file on top of each other and at the same time. So this is really only good for collaborative projects where you might only post a document to a few of the students in perhaps a group. And so the last option, though, is the one that most teachers recommend, and that is make a copy for each student. That allows every student to have their own customized version of your document. And so for this assignment, students wouldn't even need this section. They just need their own copy of the Library Centers menu in order to track which centers they're at. And so that would be it. You can grade it or not, and then click Assign, and students will have it in their Google Classroom.